Ladies and gentlemen, g'day. Today we're going to do a little video on something that isn't called a deep dive into vertical spreads. I'm going with that. What we're going to do is look at the components of a vertical spread and just to give you an idea of the logic behind them. How's that sound? Good. Join us. We're going to do a put spread. Now the difference between a put spread and a call spread is bugger all, because people like Citadel ensure that it is bugger all. There is no advantage to one over the other. There's a slight little difference in pricing. You pretty much want to stay out of the money as best you can. Keep that in mind. Credit spreads, out of the money. Keep that in mind, you should be good. Now, let's have a look at the first part of a credit spread. We're going to sell a put credit spread, which means we want the market to go up. If you're selling puts, you want the market to go up. If you're selling calls, you want the market to go down. Vice versa, if you're buying puts, you want them to go down. If you're buying calls, you want the market to go up. So selling a call, scratch that. Selling a put credit spread is simply this. We go to the puts. I'm choosing SPY. I'm doing SPY for a reason. A, it's very cheap. B, it's very close and the market is usually a cent or 2 cents difference in slippage. And 3, if you're a beginner, you can make this trade today and risk all of $20 on your account. And I'm not kidding, 20 bucks, maybe 25 if you fall asleep. 20 bucks, easy trade to put on, very good way to grow your account. So we're going to sell a put credit spread. Right click on the puts, sell vertical, and you will get it coming up. Now what it will look like is the classic chart like this. But let's go a little deeper and work out what it really is. What you're doing is you're selling a put spread. So the first thing you do is you sell the put. Wonderful. This is how you would do it if you have many dollars and you're happy to carry the risk. For most of us though, me included, I don't want to carry that risk. So what we do is we spread it off. A spread is just a fancy way of saying hedge. So let's look at selling the put. You're sitting there and going, mate, I'd like to sell a SPY put and I will sell it to you for $6.35. The market says $6.35 is what it's worth, which is wonderful because what this is simply a bet. And you are saying, I bet you $6.35 that the market will be higher than $5.75 on the 11th of October. Why have I chosen the 11th of October? Because it's 15 days. Why have I chosen 15 days? No idea. 14 wasn't enough and 16 was too many. Let's go with that. So it is a bet. You've gone to your bookie, i.e. the stock exchange, and said, I bet you $6.35 that the market will be above 575 by the 11th of October. And in return, I get to keep all of my $6.35. So you're looking at it and you're going, cool, 635 is wonderful. Now, if I have tomorrow and someone comes out and says something and the market drops 100 points, all of a sudden I am down many, many dollars, close to $734. I am now risking what is basically 500 or 600 bucks, but downside, look at all that risk. And it never ends. So what we do is we hedge it off, and we hedge it by buying a put at a lower strike. Now I'm doing this at the money. I'm going to show you the wonders of this. This is what we call an in-out spread. We're going to sell one in the money, buy one out of the money. Sell one in, buy one out. And if you get the numbers right, what you'll find is you have a 50-50 bet. We could make 100 bucks or thereabouts, or lose 100 bucks or thereabouts. It's an in-out spread. I'm doing it in SPY. It's a buck in and a buck out. So we're at 574 at the moment. I am selling the 575 and I'm buying the 573. And that gives you this beautiful chart that if you're right, you make 100 bucks. If you lose 100 bucks. But if you're wrong, you can get out at 568. What's that? 5688. 5688, which is about 70 points lower, you will lose $20. You might lose $25 if you have a nap and have a sleep, but there's a very low risk to this. And any one of the beginners here can easily go in there and risk 20 bucks on a trade and get a feeling of what it's like to have money in the trade and to see the spread work. Your profit target on these kinds of trades, I like it to be about 30%. I like to risk 15 to 20% and make 30% because it's sitting at the money and you sort of want to make a bit of cash out of it. I mean, after all your fees and everything else, your $30 is going to be worth probably 22 bucks, but it's a nice way to get your feet wet. And you can put these on in any product you like. You can be sitting there on Microsoft and go, you know what? I think it's going to be higher in a week. Put a vertical spread on. I think Netflix is going to be higher in a week. Put a vertical spread on. And you can set these up so that you can risk such a little amount. It's a great trade to start with, and we'll go into something a bit more advanced later on with regards to this, but it comes about measuring your risk. Let's say you want to risk more than 100 bucks. Let's say you want to risk 500 bucks. What you do is you widen the strikes, but we'll go into that later. Now, let's go on to the basic put credit spread, and we're going to turn it into a range-bound trade. Let's go. Let's go back into SPY. We've cleaned our screen and we're going to buy a different kind of spread. Well, no, it's the same spread, but we're just buying at a different position. We're going to turn our vertical spread that we just did, which was a directional bet, make money if it goes up, lose money if it goes down, into a range-bound trade. The range-bound trade, we're going to do it, let's say the 20 delta, the 19 delta, the 21 delta, it doesn't matter which one, somewhere between 18 and 20. I'm going to choose the 19 delta just because I can. We're going to go into the puts, we're going to right click, we're going to sell, because we're in puts, we want the market to go up, sell a vertical. And we're going to make it, let's make it $2 wide. We're going to collect 24 cents. Why are we collecting 24 cents? Because the delta is 20. There's a 1 in 5 chance of this actually ending up in the money, and they're paying you accordingly. So that means right now we have 24 cents of credit. Let's look at that in a risk profile. We can make $24 and our risk is 176 bucks. But the chance of it actually being in trouble on this trade is quite low. This is the basis of a put credit spread. Now, let's say you want to risk more than $170 on this trade. You can add contracts to get more. Personally, I prefer to widen it. So instead of having a $2 wide spread, let's make it a $4 wide spread. And now you're collecting 45 cents of credit to risk $355. Easiest way to handle the credit spreads. Put these on, same type of thing. If you get a big move to the downside, you're going to be out of pocket 25 bucks, maybe 30 bucks on such a trade. They're very easy to manage and they don't require much adjustments. In fact, I wouldn't even adjust this. I just put it on. If I make 20%, cool. If I lose 20%, bugger, carry on. Real cheap trade to put on and very easy for a beginner. So now you have a credit spread on there and it is a range-bound trade. This is not directional, it's range-bound because as the days go on, you'll see that little red mark move further and further and further away and you'll make money on it just in theta. In fact, if you get a slide up move, in a week's time, you've made most of your money. Great trade to put on for a beginner because it's very simple. The next one after this one is what happens if you want to make it a pure range-bound trade. What we can do is we can sell the other side. So what we do is we have a vertical here on one side. Let's go back to our sim trades. We'll go to the call side. And what we're going to do is find the same delta. Is there a 19 delta? There's one. And we're going to sell another vertical. And we're going to make it the same distance, let's say $4 wide. So, we have to make it $5 wide. So let's make them both $5 wide. Let's make you $5.60. So this one's $5 wide, this one's $5 wide. We'll collect 58 cents on the put side. We'll collect 72 cents on the call side. And now all of a sudden, we have the same amount of risk. $370. But now we're collecting $1.30 because we've sold the puts and the calls. The downside to the upside looks pretty bad here. It gets a little better, but the put side's a lot nicer and it's a lot smoother, mainly because of volatility. Advanced subject, we'll get back to that later. Same thing though, as the days go on, you can see how it sort of evens out nicely. And you can make your $50, which is easily 30% on each of the trade, as long as you can stay somewhere between about 100, 120 points. Very simple trade. The nice thing is that you collect twice as much, in fact, a little bit more than twice as much, because you're selling both sides of it. The people who have seen this kind of chart before will understand that this is what we call the iron condor, which is simply selling both sides of the trade in a range bound. You take off the call side, you have the put credit spread, which is still a range bound trade because you know you can make money in quite a large range. You don't need it to move. You just want it to sort of sit where it is or move a little bit higher. And you can sell anything from the 20 delta to the 30 delta, which we'll show right now. Let's go back to our put credit spread. Let's put it back to today and have another think about it. What we have is the 560 put that we're selling, and we're hedging with the 555. We're collecting 58 cents of credit. What about an idea that's slightly different, where we say, you know what, too much to the downside. I don't need a 20 delta. I'm going to sell the 30 delta instead. So we're going to sell, let's say, the 565. Let's move this up $5. Let's move you up $5 to the 560. And now we're collecting 90 cents of credit. 90 cents of credit means that we have going to make $90 if it goes our way. It also means that we're going to lose $400 if it goes against us. The great side about doing this is we can adjust this line of credit to our level of risk. Still a range-bound trade, but instead of being an extra $5 to the south, we're now $5 to the north. And the difference with this is how violent the downside is. As you move along, you see how it doesn't move as quick? And you can see the purple line falling at a much steeper gradient as it gets further down. So you collect more money, but you still take on more risk and less wiggle room. Good trade to put on the 30 delta when the market is moving around a lot. So if your VIX is at, say, 25, great time to put the 30 delta trade on. When your VIX is at 12, it's pretty much suicide. So let's go through that now to compare your volatilities between the two. What I've done here is I've used one on demand to go back in time to August 6th. This is not even during the apocalypse. This is a couple of days after the apocalypse. The VIX you can see is at 28. Now with the VIX at 28, the 30 delta on a 15 or 16 day option is 5110. So if you compare that, that is almost it's 130, 140 points out of the money. All right, that's with the VIX at 28. If we turn off one demand and we go back to today, where the VIX is sitting at 15, looking at this, and I go look at the 15, let's look at the 30 delta. Might need a few more strikes. The 30 delta is 56.80, which is only 65 points away from in the money. So the difference in VIX dictates where your put spreads can be put. So normally you don't have to worry about volatility with a put spread, and you can just put them on every week and let the volatility take care of itself. Only thing you have to work out is whether or not you want to go for a 20 delta, 25 delta, a 30 delta, depending on your risk appetite. Vertical spreads. You now understand how to put a put spread on, you understand how to hedge a put spread, and you understand how to adjust the put spreads to adjust your risk. I'm hoping that covers pretty much everything to do with the vertical spread. And more importantly, I hope some of you start putting them on. They're very simple spreads to put on, very low risk, especially if you do them in SPY. And with volatility so low at the moment, probably not a bad time to put them on at 15 or 16 VIX. Wish you guys all the very best. Please stay safe out there. Any questions, leave them in the Discord and we can con Dan into answering them later on in the week or early on Monday. All the best.